Perfect.
All right.
Perfect. Yeah, yeah. You should have it all on. All right.
Yes.
So listen, Joni, when you sat me down, and it's been over a year now since this happened, and we had a conversation about my business, and you told me, I mean, you were very clear about what it was going to take, and cold calls and doing this work, and there was a lot of work involved and going through the lists, and and I understood that, yes, that's true. Like, I was hoping, I kept hoping against hope that at some point I would hear some magical piece of advice that would let me get out of doing all that work, and or that I could hire someone that would let me get out of doing all that work. None of the above. None of that happens. There is no magic marketing ploy. There is no, the funnels aren't going to do it for you, you know, and all that stuff's well and good. But at the end of the day, there's no trick. If you're trying to really grow a business that's going to compete in the competitive marketplace, then it's going to be a lot of work, period. And for me, I had been doing tutoring for a long time, and it hadn't been a competitive marketplace. And then it was. And then, of course, COVID happened. And all these different factors came into place. But at the end of the day, the one fundamental piece was that, it would have been absolutely possible to make the business work. It just wasn't a business that I wanted to run, and the amount of the kinds of work wasn't my strengths. And it definitely wasn't what I wanted to do. So I cut all the way to the bone. I just cut everything out. And I went from having like 8 different people that I was paying to zero people. And I went from having a $4,000+ a month rent check due every month to zero. I negotiated. I got out of the lease. I had to pay a big chunk, to get out of that lease. But I did. I got out of the lease. And everything was just about getting lean, cutting out all the stuff that wasn't necessary and that wasn't making me money. I also had to learn an important lesson, which was that, it's not my job to save the world. And that's really how I had been operating in many ways. And so I had been putting so many hours into all this free work that I was doing for different groups and different people. And I just stopped. I just stopped doing it completely. I just stopped. And I had been really nervous about raising rates. I had it in my mind that, you can't do that because people will leave. And I just said, forget it. I'm just, I kept on putting the number higher. And it was tough to ignore the voice in my mind, which was my father's voice saying, you can't raise your rates because everyone will they won't pay that. But I did. I ignored it. I mean, it was there, but I ignored it. So, what has happened is I went from trying to be a tutoring business to just doing my tutoring. And that was a business. And it's never been more profitable. When I wasn't trying to save the world, when I wasn't trying to build an empire, guess what? You actually get to make some money, So that's the long and the short of it. I'm happy to do what I'm doing. There was a long period of time when I was just at survival level. Even after I made all these cuts, I was still just at a survival level. But the good news was that, what I have still works, and it still works over Zoom. I can still be effective as a teacher. And at the end of the day, that's what people want more than anything else. And I knew that in my business, that's what people want more than anything else. But, what I've done is I've eliminated anything that wasn't what people want. And instead of trying all these new things and throwing all this different stuff at the wall, hoping something will stick, the only thing I've added in the last 2 years is my assess yourself course, which is like an assessment for deciding, do you want to do ACT or SAT? That's it. That's the only thing. And the only reason why is because people kept asking for that, you know? So really just hearing what I needed to hear, then and that I didn't want to hear, that's a valuable skill. To be able to do that for someone is a very, very valuable skill. So that's what you gave to me. So I'm very appreciative. And that's what I wanted to share with you the other day.
You're so welcome. Great. So if you could summarize for someone looking for a coach, what was it that
Good.
I was able to do that connected to your results? Is there a favorite outcome that you got?
Yeah. Well, I think that you just simply put, you say what's there to say, and you say it in a way that's effective because there's no judgment in it. It's just this is just what's so like, okay, so you're going to need to do X, Y, and Z. Like if you want to have the result that you want, this is what you're going to need to do. And putting it out there in a way that's clear, and like I said, and without judgment, and it's either you can have the results or you cannot have the results. This is what it's going to take. And having that, being able to say that's the hardest part. Now that's the hardest part. And you also have to have the other part, which is you have to actually know what advice to give. You actually have to know how to coach. You have to have the answers to those questions of what do I need to do to grow the business? What do I need to do? So you got to have that. But everybody's got that. Like, if you do your homework, if you know your stuff, if you work hard, everyone knows what you're supposed to do. But being able to communicate that so that people can hear it, that's the part that not everybody can do.
Well, thanks, Josh. Thanks for the testimonial. And wow, I'm so proud of you. I could not be happier for you, and you deserve it all.
I'm just honestly, I'm just getting back now to where I was 2 years ago in terms of wanting to work on my business. I just completely, well, not completely, we're pretty close to, I just completely redid one of my SAT courses. And it's the kind of thing that in the past I would have procrastinated and dragged my feet on. And I just, over the course of a week, I just did it. I didn't even try. It just started happening. Just like, you know what? I'm going to change this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. And then the next thing I know, I'm like, holy shit, I'm working on my lessons. What just happened?
You're in the zone, Josh.
Yeah, but it takes time too. But here's the other thing is you really, really have to have compassion for yourself, and you really have to let yourself off the hook. That's my forte, is beating myself up. And so especially when the path that you thought was the right path and the glorious path, and that you say, okay, I'm not doing that anymore. That's tough. That's a tough thing to do. And it doesn't feel good. And it doesn't feel pleasant. It is uncomfortable to sit with, as you put it. But as cliche as it is, what do we know? That any growth is going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Any growth is going to be uncomfortable.
You are such a role model for us all of how to just hear the coaching, internalize it, and do what you want. Do your path.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this was perfect, Josh.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Appreciate your time.
My pleasure. All right. Good luck with everything. Keep us posted. Let us know how it's going and what the new